Welcome back, everybody. This is the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage, and I am bringing you another video for the white Rotary. And in this particular video, what I'm going to be doing now that you've seen me take apart and clean and inspect, showing you how to lubricate the tension assembly on a white Rotary Model 77. And I'll refer you guys back to those videos. And now I'm going to rethread the machine. Now you guys have seen me thread this machine before, and because there are so few videos online showing this, and it's not always easy to see, I thought it would be helpful if I had to take the thread out, obviously, in order to take off the tension assembly. So I'm going to rethread the machine again, and I have another little point to add here that I didn't mention in when I originally showed you guys how to thread the machine. So stay tuned. Okay, so I still have the same white thread that I had last time I threaded this, and that's actually hopefully going to be useful because we have a machine that's in a dark color, and I want you guys to be able to see the thread a little more easily. We'll do our best here. So I'm going to take my thread spool, let's see, and it's sitting here. I'm coming off the back. So I'm going to be zooming in a lot because watching someone thread a machine, it can be frustrating if you're seeing it from a distance. So let's see what we can come up with here for you. That means changing the angle here. So we'll just do this one little spot at a time, guys. No reason to be in a hurry. Whenever I see instructional videos, if they're moving fast, I often have to go back and replay it again and again. But let's get in even closer. Okay, so I've got the thread. The best way to thread a sewing machine is always to have two hands on the thread, right? Because you're controlling the tension as you thread it. So I'm going to come here, and on the back side you see this thread guide right here, and I'm going to come under, and as I do, let me reposition my hands here, folks. Okay, I'm going to come under, I come around with my thread, right, and I'm going to come up. And like many thread guides, there's a little space just big enough for the thread. And what I do is I come here, and now my thread guide is holding the thread. So far, so good. And you'll know because it'll flop out if you don't have it in right, okay? Now, this is our take-up arm, but we're not hitting that yet. Now we're going to go down here to the check spring area, very crucial area. Now let me shift the camera angle. And I have to shift a lot here because I'm going to zoom in, get as close as I can for you guys. Let's see here. Get even closer. Now, what you're looking at, of course, is the tension assembly. And if you remember from the last time when I was showing all of you, you're going to bring your thread straight down from that first tension guide that I showed you. And you're going to come here on this side. You're on the left side, okay? And then there's this large sort of wire that wiggles around kind of in an S shape. Now, you remember the last time I showed you how to thread this, I simply came around on this side and I pulled up. And I thought, hey, we've got our thread in place. Well, we sort of did, but I wanted to show you a way that's a little easier for you if you're not used to threading the machine. Now let's come back out just a bit. Okay, so you'll notice, I'm gonna have to, there, that's better. You'll notice that I'm gonna have the thread in both hands, okay? Instead of just pulling it, instead of holding the tension up here and then just pulling around and pulling up through, what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen it a bit, okay? So I've got the thread in my left, you see my thumb over here on the left, that's the thread that comes down from that first thread guide that I showed you, okay? But I'm going to let it be a little loose, right? Normally, if you think back, you often see me and I'll be holding the thread really, really tight because I want to control it. I want it to keep coming off the spool. But in this particular situation and with this machine, what we're going to do is I'm going to let that, I'm not going to worry about my spool thread. I can always tighten it back if I need to. So now I've kind of got the Again, I've got the thread that is coming down from that first thread guide, okay, just like it did, like I showed you before, right off the spool. And it's loose, you know, it's just hanging there. Now, let's come back down to this area, and I want you to see how I'm going to do this. When you actually learn to thread this machine, it takes very little time, okay? This video is taking longer because I'm trying to go through the various steps, okay? So, remember, I brought it down, and I have it hanging. So now let's do it again, only this time, you're gonna see it hanging there right down from the top thread guide. I'm gonna hold it in my hand, but instead of pulling on it, I'm just gonna kind of hold it, and then I'm gonna grab with the right hand, and of course we're gonna come down, and we're gonna go into the same place we went last time, but this time, watch what I do. Now, I'm going to zoom in, and I've got it in both hands, and I want you guys to see what's happening here. Inside, behind here, is the check spring that we're trying to get a hold of. And what we want the thread to do as it comes down is to get around the check spring so that the check spring can do what it was designed to do. Okay, so we're coming down, and we're going to come under. Okay, so now I've got it under there, but watch this, guys. I'm going to hold with my left thumb and finger. I'm going to leave that thread loose. I've got it in there, and now I'm going to come up. Well, that's what I said I was going to do. Let's try it again. Okay, now what I want to do is keep the thread loose, but in both hands. So I've got my right hand and thumb on the thread to the right, and then over here on the left. So I'm going to come down, and as I do, I'm looping around. But before I pull tight, I'm going to hold just a little slack on the left, and then pull over with the thread on the right. And what I'm trying to accomplish here is to get the thread all the way around the check spring. Aha. I don't know if you guys heard that, but let's try that again. Okay, and this thread is very loose. I'm not going to hurt the spring by doing what I just did. Now watch. Notice that I just made sure that the presser foot was lifted up. Okay, so I wanted to follow the rule I'm always telling you guys to follow. When you're threading a machine, make sure that your foot is not resting on the dog, but in fact you've got the lever and you've pulled the foot up. Okay, because that takes pressure off of your tension assembly and it allows you to thread it properly. If you thread it with the foot down, you might get away with it, but chances are it's going to mess with your tension and it's going to make you unhappy, and the machine is not going to be happy either. So here we go. We're coming down. Okay, I've come up. Now I've got a little bit of slack over here on the left, but I'm underneath. Now watch what happens. I'm pulling up but loosely and kind of back on the right thread, the thread side that's in my right hand, right here. Now I'm going to pull, and I pulled up. Notice I kept tension down here with my thumb, and I pulled up, and you hear this little click. That click is the sound of the thread wrapping around the check spring. It's not easy to see because this check spring, it does not work like the others that face the front, like on many of the Singers. But it's still a check spring and it has the same function. Now, if you look closely, I'm holding the thread here on the left. Watch when I pull up on the right. Do you guys see this moving? That's the check spring, okay? It's a spring that puts tension on the thread, and as I pull up and down, you see it moving. If I just come around and simply if I put too much tension on this, and if I have the presser foot down, which doesn't help. Let's say I come around like this, boom, I come up and I think, oh, I'm in there. I'm holding something, but I haven't gotten the thread all the way wrapped around the check spring so that it can get into the little valley or U-shape of the spring where it needs to rest in order for that spring to tension the thread. That's how it was designed to work. So we try it again, come around, and instead of being really tight, I'm going to be a little loose with the tension. I've got it in here. Well, it wants to pop out, obviously. because it's loose, but that's all right. So watch. I've got the thread in both sides, both ends of the thread, and my thumb, my right thumb is there. Now watch. I've got a little slack. Now watch me pull up. And as I'm pulling, I can feel the thread moving around the spring, blink, and it just clicked, okay? And that's something that's very hard for you to imagine when you're doing it. I'm going to do it again. Not because I want to make a long video, but because this is a very, it's one of those things that you will end up doing by feel. You'll know it when you do it, and yet you may say, well, gosh, I can't see this thing. So I'm going to pull back some of my thread here, back onto the spool. Okay, so we'll come down again. I'm coming down off of that first thread guide, come around. I want to come counterclockwise, and I'll see there's a little place for the thread to come in. And again, now you're seeing the thread is kind of in a V shape down here, right? And it's coming around. This is when I want to, whoops. Let's get the angle shifted just a tad. I want you to see a little bit more than this. There we go. Okay, I'm going to pull out a little, I'm going to leave a little slack over here on the left. Now watch, I'm going to pull up. I've got my, let's get my thumb and finger down here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm pulling up on the right side, okay? Now, as I pull up, I'm going to feel the thread's going to be, there's a spring moving in here, right? So I'm holding now with the left to keep it from feeding, keep the thread from feeding. Now I'm pulling up, and that spring is moving up, and listen. And there it goes. Now, the thread has essentially, what it's done, guys, is the thread has been up against the check spring in here, and it's basically making its way around. It's designed to slide around the spring until it comes into that little, it's almost shaped like a candy cane, for lack of a better word. And as it slides around, once it gets to the end, it finds its little place in the U shape of the candy cane. We'll just call it that. That's an easy metaphor for all of us. Now look, see now when I pull up, I'm getting that spring and it's coming all the way up. That means that the thread is now resting where it needs to be. Okay, so now that we've done that, and if this doesn't work for you, just keep trying. Remember, this is a new machine for you. You haven't been sewing on it for long, maybe never. So take time. If this was a brand new sewing machine, you would still need to give it time to learn. So give the older machines the same courtesy. Now, where is my take-up arm? All right, we're going to shift over here, and I'm going to zoom in, and I want you to see the take-up arm and how it threads. Now, there's a couple ways to do this. If you're not familiar, many take-up arms simply have a hole in the top, and you take your thread and you simply you thread it through the opening just like you would the eye of a needle, and you can do that. But this model, you don't have to, because there is a little slit. So you come on top here, right like that, push toward the machine. You push, there you go, you pull it, and there it is. It slid right in there. A little convenience feature. I'll pull it out and do it again for you. I should be marketing these videos as a solution to insomnia. So if you really can't sleep, you watch this and hopefully you'll be ready. You'll be ready for sleep time. Anyway, so here we go. Remember, you can thread it the old-fashioned way, like many of them take right through this little hole. But watch, I'm going to rest the thread right here, and I'm going to push toward the machine and pull toward me. And there it is. It falls right in, just like it would in something like a bobbin case. Okay, now we need to refocus back. And some of you will remember this last step. We don't have that very much more to go, really. Okay. Let's get her to really focus in there. Okay, so we have one thread guide left, folks, and it is sitting right here, and it sits right, if you're facing the machine, you'll see the needle in front of you, and the thread guide is actually facing towards you. So I'm going to simply come here and it's going to rest. And let's lower this for you so you can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, I've got the camera in a better position for you all. So of course here we are. We've got we have the thread that has just now come down from the take-up arm. And we've got one more thread guide left. Some thread guides are kind of funny and you'll kind of play with the thread until you figure out which way. This one is very simple and easy. And I'm going to zoom in and show you just why that is. So again, I'm kind of sort of at a 45-degree angle to the machine on the corner because I've been trying to show you all the threading that's all done on the side. So you're down here and you are, basically you have this one thread guide. So here's your foot, here's your needle, and just above it is that thread guide. And it's a really easy one to play with. So I'm going to take my thread in my hand. I'm coming down from the basically right here is the side of the tension assembly. So we're right above the needle, and there is a little it's almost like a little finger that juts out. You put if you have your thread vertical, just as a point of reference, you're going to put this and you're going to pull it to the left, and there it is. It's already in the thread guide. There you go. Now we have one step left, and of course that is to get the needle threaded, and of course these needles always thread from the left toward the right, and getting it right through the needle. I think I have a size 14 installed in this machine at the moment. They will take up to a size 18, which is pretty common. And there she goes. That's pretty common with most vintage sewing machines. Some of the Singers will take up to a 21, size 20, 21 needle. And there you go. We have now, once again, rethreaded the white, I've turned the light on for you guys there. We have rethreaded the white Rotary Model 77. And a special thank you to one of my viewers who noticed the last time I threaded this. You know, I pulled it in and threaded it, and I didn't show you guys that particular little step there, and that's important. So as you teach, you also learn, or at least get reminded. I've done these before, but it's easy sometimes when you're moving in a video and you've done something before to forget to mention a step. And so thank you again to the person who added that helpful comment. If you folks have questions, maybe you have one of these machines, or you might have a Kenmore or another branded version. These all have slight variations in how they thread, but they're not dramatically different. And so I think you will find that if you can thread one of these, you can thread any of them. And again, I try to make as many videos of this machine as I can, because this machine will eventually, it's going to be posted for sale soon, but I really wanted to, while I had it in my hands and had it, could just physically get a hold of it and go through the machine and show you guys some of it, because as I've mentioned, I really wanted to sing the praises of these machines. They're awesome, and so often people pass them by, and I'm not sure why, but anyway, feel free to share your comments on what you think about this machine. Maybe you have one. Maybe you have one of its cousin machines. You know, it's posing as a different branded version. And tell me what you think of it. Tell me if you enjoy sewing with it. Or if you don't, why? You don't have to say that you like it. And let's see, stay tuned. I think I have one more video to make here. And the next time we'll set up the camera and we'll see if this sews a good stitch after all of my efforts. So take care, everyone. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I try to remember to remind everyone to feel free to subscribe. If you subscribe to the channel, you can also click on the little bell symbol and it will let you know when I have updated the channel with videos. I try to be regular with the updates, but like for everyone, life gets in the way, and so that will let you know when a new video has been posted. Anyway, thanks again, and feel free to share your comments on any sewing machine you have, and particularly if you have one of these wonderful rotary machines. And I know I'm not the only person that appreciates them, but sometimes people can get frustrated if they haven't been serviced. And that was the purpose of this little video series was to show you guys that these actually, they are, for me, just as simple to service as many of the singers are. But anyway, that is how you get one of these wonderful machines from the past threaded, the Rotary models. And I will see you next time when we will test it out and see if it will actually sew stitches well. Thanks for watching, everyone.